Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and thank you for being here and pressing play on this edition of Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better. Chris Mascaro here, and excited for this week's show and what I've got in store for you this time around. We're going to get into all of that momentarily, but I don't know about you and where you're at, but here on the East Coast, and for my wonderful friends back home in Western Pennsylvania and everybody kind of north of the Mason-Dixon line and going up the East Coast and in New England, all the places where winter just won't let us go. It feels like Punxsutawney Phil must have seen several iterations of his shadow, because it feels like what Bill Murray's character in Groundhog Day said, this winter is going to be cold, it's going to be gray, and it's going to last you for the rest of your life. That's what it feels like right now, because every time spring has teased us a couple of times, we've seen temperatures get into the upper 60s, even the 70s a few times around the country, only to plunge right back down a few days later. Here in Georgia, we had snow the other day. I know everyone, like I say, in the entire northern and eastern parts of our country has been buried under snow what feels like all winter long. It's time for Phil's shadow to go bye-bye. As I release this episode here in mid-March, we've got 20 days until the Masters. The azaleas need time to bloom. My boys down in Florida are usually sweating by now, not wearing sweaters. I put my hands together and asked God, please turn the thermostat up for us, because there's nothing worse, and I mean, hyperbole, but there's nothing worse than an all-green Augusta National. I'm not talking about the fairways. A few times that I've been there, either the azaleas haven't bloomed or they have been post-bloom. Azaleas that are all green, backgrounds to the 12th green, to the fairway along 13. When those azaleas are all green, it loses a little something. I mean, I love the Masters. You guys know that. I mean, it's my favorite place on the planet, Augusta National, and I have enjoyed being there many times. But to walk out there when the azaleas aren't in bloom, it's kind of like a little gut punch for those of us that just absolutely adore Augusta National and the Masters. So hopefully we can get the temperatures turned up here really soon so that, I mean, as you guys know, not a blade of grass is out of place on Augusta National, but we need those azaleas. We need everything to bloom there, and just for all of us, right, to be able to get out of the house, get into some sunshine once again, to start to enjoy spring and the sights and the scents and everything that spring means to us, the dawning of a new golf season for those of us that don't live in Arizona, California, or Florida. We need to get back out there. So hopefully, again, hands together, God, let's get those temperatures up so we can get things going. All right, enough of that. So who do I get to share with you on this episode? We're on a run of great instructors here on the show, and I've got another all-timer for you this time around. 2000 LPGA Teacher of the Year and recent inductee into the Teaching and Club Professional Hall of Fame, Nancy Quarcelino, is back. You know how wonderful Nancy is. She's going to share with us why the LPGA continues to struggle to attract TV viewers. They've got a lot of purse money up, a lot of things going for them. Still, people aren't turning on the channel. Now, that some of that is where you're going to have to try to go to find it and what time to find it. So there needs to be some improvements there. So Nancy's going to share her thoughts about that and what advice she would give to Commissioner Craig Kessler if she could. Nancy also shares insights on the Solheim Cup. We've got that coming up again later on this year over in the Netherlands. She also gives us some tips on proper setup and what to work on if you don't have a lot of time during the week to get out to the range. What should you be working on? She also talks about some of the frequent things that she sees us doing incorrectly. For those of us that are mid to high handicappers, what are we doing wrong and how can we start to do it right? Plus, then at the end, she gives a shout out to her great niece who is currently serving in the National Guard. Shout out to all of our military personnel who are protecting us every day. It's a dangerous world out there right now. So thank you to all of you who are serving or who have served, our veterans. Love you folks as well. Without you, there would be no us. Following Nancy, Dr. Bob Winters makes his monthly visit. This month, Dr. Bob talks about staying away from the phrase, and we do this all the time, I must, during the round, right? How many times have we had a bad hole or maybe a bad stretch of holes, and then all of a sudden we start to press. We say, I must make a birdie on this hole. I must make a par on this hole. I must par out from here in order to shoot whatever goal we had for the day. If there's a milestone score we're trying to break or whatever that is, right? We start to get into I must. And when we start to do I must, our brain starts to get out of whack. We start to think we got to play a hero shot. And then all of a sudden we're making a string of doubles and the round is out the window and we get depressed from there. So staying away from those kinds of things. Dr. Bob's going to give us the recipe for how to do that. And then we round out the episode with the Northern American sales manager for Miura Golf, Blake Smith. Blake is going to be making his next On the Tee debut with me. I was very excited when he decided that he would come on the show and share the great things that they are doing. And he's got a rich background in our game, all the way back to his days in college when he earned his degree in agribusiness and professional golf management at Arizona State. And we touch on that program a little bit. Blake is also a master club fitter. You guys know how big I am on getting properly fit for your clubs. He reiterates why. What is that mantra? We're not good enough not to get fit. Blake then takes us inside the meticulous process they go through at Miura Golf, making each and every one of their iron sets and their heads for their irons. Their irons are handcrafted individually and checked each one for quality. They don't do a random sample quality check. They take a look at each and every head that they produce. Blake takes us through each of their iron sets so we know which one of those iron sets is right for our game. Plus, they just introduced their new PI 402s. This year, you'll hear what sets those apart. So a lot to get into there with all of their wonderful iron sets and why guys like Adam Scott play Miuras when Miura isn't paying them to do so. And you know my guy Darren Pang, also a Miura ambassador. You guys know how much he raves about them every time we get to have Panger as part of the show as well. So like I say, a lot to get into when Blake joins me. So folks, a great show in store for you this time around. Thank you again for pressing play and taking the journey with me here over the next 90 minutes or so. And a real quick request before we get started. I've been asking over the last few weeks, really important if you guys would take just a second, wherever you're listening to the show right now, if you take just a second to subscribe to it, and then if you have an opportunity to give a rating to the show, you know algorithms are everything. In order to get this show in front of more people like you, hitting the subscribe button and giving the show a rating is going to grab a hold of that algorithm and get it out in front of more people. So I'd appreciate it if you would take just a second to do so. Okay, you know I like to get things started shouting out the wonderful people that help to sponsor this show, starting with my great friends over at The Trib. TribLive.com is the leading news website in Western Pennsylvania, with news around the clock, Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, and a podcast network, which is where you can find Next on the Tee. Bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trib Live app for free and stay up to date with the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron, even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. And because it's never too early for chocolate, their double chocolate Bock is back for the season, and it's the perfect companion for a cozy winter evening. Check out all of their wonderful beers and their gift shop by going online to pittsburghbrewing.com. In golf, fast isn't a nice to have, fast is a necessity. And speed off the tee is where it all starts. That was precisely the thinking behind the all-new QI4D family of drivers from TaylorMade, our fastest, most fittable drivers. Built to meet the demands of the world's best players like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Nelly Korda, and the rest of Team TaylorMade. The QI4D lineup was engineered to unlock the 4 dimensions of speed, starting with a multi-material driver head with enhanced aerodynamic shaping, combined with a faster face and our revolutionary React shaft system. The TaylorMade QI4D drivers are ready to extract every bit of speed from every golfer's unique swing profile. Our industry-leading adjustability and fitting unlocks it all. Watch the full story of QI4D, our quest to build the fastest, most fittable drivers, and unlock your newfound speed at TaylorMadeGolf.com/findingfast. All right, now back in Next on the Tee with me is one of the most decorated instructors in the history of our game, and that is Nancy Quarcelino. Going back to her college days, she played at Western Kentucky University, where she became a member of the school's very first women's golf team. After she graduated, she moved on to Florida State, where she earned her Master of Science degree, and a few years ago, she was inducted into the FSU Hall of Distinguished Alumni. In 1986, she was elected as the first female Class A PGA professional in the state of Tennessee. In 2019, she was awarded the LPGA L. Griffin Rolex Award for her contributions to teaching the game. In 2020, she was the recipient of the Tennessee PGA Distinguished Career Award. She is a 3-time Tennessee PGA Teacher of the Year. She's annually one of Golf Magazine's top 100 teachers. She was the 2000 LPGA National Teacher of the Year. And every year, the LPGA comes out with their top 50 teachers of the year. And for the last few years, Nancy has not only been on that list, she has been named to the elite level, which is the best of the best. She is also a member of the LPGA Teaching and Club Professional Hall of Fame, and I am extremely honored that she is back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Nancy, how are you, my friend?
I am very, very well. Thank you for having me. And man, it makes me sound like I'm quite old, doesn't it?
I just think it makes you sound very distinguished.
Starting way, way back at WKU in 1974, playing for them. So yeah, I've had a nice, great, long career in golf. I sure
you have.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into all of that, Nancy, and all the golf talk that we want to talk about this evening, we're both making our way back from injuries. I saw that you had a challenging surgery back in January. How's your recovery going?
All right. So it was January in 2025. I struggled walking. I was trying to figure out what it was. I thought maybe it was a hip. Went to the hip doctor. He said, nope, I'm not the person you need to see. You need to see Dr. Amanda Martin with Elite Sports Medicine. And I had an open glute tendon repair. So that surgery was January 29th last year. My end of my PT was the end of June. For 2 months, I couldn't put any weight on that right leg, hip, anything. I couldn't move it out. Couldn't move it sideways. I couldn't drive, couldn't teach, of course. And when I did get back into teaching, even after a couple months, I was had a walker, I had a cane, so that I made sure that I didn't pick anything up, didn't do anything to extend the recovery. At the end of June, I became graduated from there. And since then, I have worked twice a week with a personal trainer that's from the same group that helped me with my physical training. And I've been doing that ever since the end of June, going twice a week to continue strengthening my glutes, as we always hear that's happened. And the reason that I had the injury is because I've played golf ever since I was 8 years old, and it's just continually working. And as I got older, I wanted more distance. And so I started working a couple of years ago on really trying to get more distance, because I know that as I'm getting older, I'm going to lose distance. So I was doing everything what I thought was good to make that happen. And I probably helped injure that glute more by doing that. So now I'm doing it correctly. doing everything I can to get myself strengthened up. I have not really physically played a golf game for almost 2 years because of the injury. So I really can't wait to go play. Now we just got to get out of the Nashville weather and kind of enjoy some good weather. So that was my injury. That the doctor, the surgeon said, Nancy, you need a hip replacement. You just can't have one because your tendons aren't attached. I said, great.
So is that next now? You got to have the hip replaced?
Well, probably at some point in time, but she said it's just mainly arthritis that's there and stuff. But, I'm going to be 71 in a couple of weeks. And so this is a long career of golf and swinging and hitting golf balls and playing and performing out on a golf course that has led me to my very first big injury. So I'm glad to be on the other side of that and can't wait to get out on a golf course like you.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because I haven't really been able to play golf for a couple of years. Again, I've just on the heels of a second ankle replacement for my right ankle and had a surgery prior to that to clean out a bunch of old bone chips and things of that nature. So as you and I try to get back, and for all of our listeners that have had injuries or setbacks and now are trying to, again, reestablish a foundation, how do you plan on working your way back into being able to play?
Well, I'm doing it by the personal training that I'm doing. They knew my injury. They knew what I had. And everything that Mackenzie is doing for me is based on knowing what that injury was and making sure my feedback with her twice a week and what I do in between. So I can't tell my students enough that you have to keep moving. You have to keep building that core and doing the strength, because you just go out and hit golf balls or you go play, something's going to happen down the road. And and that was me. I mean, I thought I was pretty healthy and thought I did a lot of things really, really great, but I really wasn't working at getting my body to make a functional movement in golf. And golf is such a big sport that is exercise that you need to have the core. You need to have the strength to move. And I can't tell my students enough that I don't care if it's Pilates or yoga or getting a massage, maybe doing all of it, but you've got to keep moving in order to keep playing golf.
So is your plan from this point, because as I think about how I'm going to try to reestablish my game, it's going to start with the short swings. Maybe I chip and pitch for a little while and then work into my wedge game and then maybe work into my scoring irons and eventually get to where I'm driving the golf ball again. So I'm sort of working my way from the green back to the tee, if you will. Does that sound similar to what you're going to be trying to do?
That's what I was doing as of July last year. I could only, after a couple of months, I could only putt. And then I could chip and putt. And then I could pitch and putt. So I can now do more movement, do more driving, do more of everything. I just have to be really aware of of that injury so that I don't fall in a hole or, hey, with an ankle or whatever, twist an ankle and fall. I've got to really be aware of my movements walking. And I think that most of us, I fell a couple of years ago just coming down some stairs where I missed the last stair. You've got to be aware. And I teach this in golf. You have to be where your feet are. Your mental game has to be where your feet are. You can't be thinking about the next hole or the next shot. You have to be where your feet are. And that really puts it into play for me, that I have to be where my feet are, making sure that I'm moving correctly with my golf game and into a golf shot.
Be where your feet are. Solid advice.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get into the game, Nancy. And I want to kind of get your thoughts as you look around our game, whether it's with instruction or maybe at the tour levels. Do you see a gap somewhere that you think needs to be filled?
Wow, that's a good one. I struggle watching golf. It's a little on the boring side because we are creating people that are hitting the ball really, really straight. Okay. Now, but as you can see, some of the scoring has not gone down. Okay. So we may be hitting it long and we may be hitting it straight, but nonetheless, getting it close to the pin and making putts is going to be critical. And when you see those scores of the higher putting scores or the higher this, well, the greens are totally different now than they were 10 years ago and than they were 20 years ago. Okay. So I think that when we are watching these people hitting the ball long, and they're hitting close to the greens, may not be getting it up and down because they are struggling with that short game. It's just like you, Chris. We have to continue working the touch shots for people around the green because we want to go out there and watch somebody hit it way over 300 yards. I wanted to hit it way over the yardage that I had. And we enjoy going out and watching Bryson hit it, 380 yards. We enjoy going and doing that. The key is that if we're going to watch the scores and we're going to watch these people play, I think that we're going to have to, yes, we can look at distance. And I think that's where some of this, we're going to see some injuries come in because people are going to try to, 128 club. I just had a gentleman on my tee, it's going to the Latin American tour in a couple weeks. He's got 128, club head speed, 178 ball speed. I mean, I can't get him on my range because he's hitting it over my range,
Wow.
And such. And so the key is that that's wonderful, but we got to keep it. When you get that kind of speed, you have to be that kind of precision.
Yeah.
And so I think that we as instructors, we're trying to teach what the student wants, which is distance, distance, distance. And they got to be thinking, they got to be, playing more. I want to see their personalities come out when they miss a shot. I want to see them struggle a little bit around the greens and get it up and down and learn and be creative with their shots. And we just don't see that as much anymore. And I think the clubs make it easier. I think everything we've done has made it easier for the golf game for the normal players, which is awesome because that's who I teach the most. And I want them to have the most fun clubs, hit the ball as straight as they can and make as great of putts and let them have enjoyment. But again, I kind of like to see a little bit of struggle out on the tour just to see some of the personalities come out,
Yeah, and I agree. And I think you make a wonderful point, Nancy, because you talk about how maybe the game's a little bit boring. Guys are hitting the ball straight. One of the things that I hear a knock on Scotty Scheffler is that it's boring to watch him. And I think it's boring to watch him because Scotty hits the ball straight. He's in the fairway. He puts it on the green. He makes a 1 or 2 putt. He makes a birdie or par and he moves on. And he's just methodical. I think we got enamored with Tiger back in the day because Tiger hit the ball all over the planet. And then it would make a remarkable shot that just captured our imagination. And we just couldn't believe what we just saw, how he hit it, from the trees or the rough or, the sand trap over the water, over a bunker to 3 feet. That really captivated our imagination. And Scotty doesn't do that because he's so straight and he's so consistent. So people are finding watching the PGA Tour boring when Scotty wins because there's no craziness going on. It's just straight and long.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Patty Sheehan did cartwheels and when Big Mama was out there having a drink and smoking a cigarette, just the characters, okay? But because you have to think, we're in the entertainment industry, okay? The LPGA and the PGA Tour, we're entertaining the people that are watching. Therefore, I love watching Bryson on social media, because you're getting to see somebody like a Arnold Palmer or a Chi Rodriguez that I don't want to see the robot after robot just hitting it straight, I think we've got to have the student get away from the numbers okay, to bring the feel back into golf. Now, I have launch monitor, I have cameras, I have all that, and I got to have it with my tour players. I do. But the key is, I think that when we're developing golfers, I think they have to learn how to figure it out on their own, okay, without, well, how, what was my angle of attack? What was my this? What was my that? No, they got to learn how to feel what it feels like to hit impact. And they've got to feel what it is when they hit a good shot and how they did it. And I think that we have to use technology for that, but I don't think we need to lean on technology.
Mm-hmm. I want to take something you mentioned a moment ago a step further, because we've seen more money being poured into the LPGA more than ever before, but meanwhile, the TV ratings just aren't there. Why do you think the LPGA isn't gaining more traction?
I think that I think it's a great question. Number one, we need consistency as to know when they're going to be playing. Okay, we need to know where we can find them on TV to go play, and where I want to see them live. That would be nice. Okay. The next thing is that here I am in the middle of the country in Nashville, Tennessee, but the one tournament that's close to me is Cincinnati, Ohio. Everything else is on the East Coast, West Coast, South. There's nothing in the Midwest that's going to bring people in to where you got to fly a long way to go see the LPGA if you're living in the Midwest, if you're living in the middle of the country. So I think that we have to, or let's go over, we got to fly overseas. Well, that's not going to happen for many of us. So we're going to have to get more, get better ratings on TV. We got to be on TV. We got to be able to see them live. Okay. And that would be awesome. I don't care if it's live overseas or anything, but we need to know when it's going to be. Now, I've heard some different things as the possibilities of changing instead of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday tournament, because that's the same time as the PGA Tour. So why not make it a Sunday or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tournament? I don't know. I mean, maybe we need to change the time frame so that we can get more people out there. But
I like that idea.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I heard that that's a possibility of being talked about. But we've got to get people just like me on the lesson tee asking people, hey, did you watch this tournament? And they're going, no, I was playing golf. I'm going, no, we got to get your eyeballs on the TV. We got to get your eyeballs on the TV. We got to get social media covering more, and we got to get TV up. We got to get viewers up. I mean, we had an LPGA event in Nashville, Tennessee for 10, 12 years. It was a Sara Lee Classic, then the Electrolux, and then the Franklin American Mortgage Championship. But when the Tennessee Titans came in and the Nashville Predators came in, all that money went over into another venue. And we even had a senior event at the facility I'm at Gaylord Springs. We had a senior event. But when all of that money starts to go into a bigger venue, the NFL or the NHL, some of that is going to go away, unfortunately.
Nancy, I know Craig Kessler has only been the LPGA commissioner for about 9 months now. And like I say, purses are up and that sort of thing. But what are your thoughts? Are there some things that you would like to see him do more of, do differently? Are there things that you think that can be outside of, you just mentioned, and I love the idea of Monday through Thursday tournaments. Are there other things you'd like to see him do?
I think that he needs to be visible. Okay. I think the tour wants him to be visible. I think we want him as LPGA professionals. We want him to be visible. And I know that he is running our tour from Texas. Okay. And which most of the people that work for the LPGA are all over the country. Okay. But I think that he's going to learn. He learned very quickly with the tournament in Florida when it became really, really cold, and they ended up canceling the the last day. And he wasn't there. And I think he said it. He said, I made a mistake. I needed to be there. And I think that he's going to be somebody that's going to learn. And he has to learn very quickly because the tour needs somebody that's going to be there and be a part and hear what they have to say. And yes, I'm bringing more money out there. Now we got to get eyeballs on there so that we can keep the tour ratings and we can get more TV sponsorships and such. And that's going to happen. And then on my side, on the LPGA professional side, at some point in time, we've got to also have the ability to have more money on our side to be able to do more with our website and getting our messages out. Personally, I would love to see a few more LPGA professional or a woman PGA professional teach more of the tour players, and then that could help. And so I think I would love to see that happen from him as well, to be able to say, we don't just teach the women and the juniors of the world. I do have some nice young men that are, carrying it, 289 yards today and the wind coming right at me. We do have great professionals that are teaching really, really good people coming in, going into the tours and trying to get on the tours. And we got to have somebody that's going to have that person that's going to showcase everybody, the tour, that, the professionals, and get us more in line with what we are. And I think that's going to happen. I think Craig's going to be the perfect person that's going to lead us there.
As we look out a little bit later on in the golf season, we've got the Solheim Cup coming back up this year. It's the week of September 7th through the 13th. This year it's over in the Netherlands. We won it last time. Have we figured out, do you think, Nancy, how to beat the European team? I mean, for crying out loud, we were 2-4-1 the last 7 matches, but come up strong this last time around. Yeah. Have we figured out how to do this thing now?
Now, I think that that's the one venue that I think it's ours. It's so important. It's like the Olympics. We get behind our players so well at these Olympics and for this Solheim. And I think it's the one place where that's where you see their personalities come out. That's where you see them, because they're not just playing for themselves. They're playing for us. They're playing for the country. And it's fun to see, no matter who wins or what it is. But I think that we have a shot, and I think that that's happening because we're getting stronger of the U.S. women that are coming into it, and that they want to be there and they want to play well. They do not want to lose. Nobody wants to lose, but the key is I do think that we found something that is going to work. And I hope that they keep that up and step up, because it's a great venue. It's our favorite venue. And I think that's when you're going to see more people watching every year.
I want to switch gears a little bit and get some playing lessons from you, Nancy, because when you are looking at people like me, a mid to high handicapper, do you see something that's very consistent when students are coming to you that we are consistently doing wrong, that maybe a sage advice from you might turn us around and get us going in the right direction, and then come to you for lessons?
Yeah. So I think that, first of all, it's a young lady I had on my lesson tee today. I had to start with her setup because the setup was a little off, too wide of a stance. The hands were pressed way, way forward. The shoulders were open. The feet were closed. And it's just, how do I get these people to understand and to feel what is kind of, I'm just trying to get you to hit a straight shot that is not going to hurt your hip or hurt your back, because that kind of setup move is going to cause some really torque in the back and not going to be good. So first of all, I'm trying to get people to swing and hit without having injury. So I'm making sure that their posture and their setup and things like that are good. The next thing that I have to look at is, how are they moving into the backswing on their plane? How are they moving through on the follow through. And one of my favorite tips, it's hard, but it's in your feet, Chris. I tell everybody to get the toes of their feet, kind of curl them up into the shoes, because the hard part is people that hit and swing to their toes on impact or the follow through. They get out of balance. Scotty actually moves his trail foot back, and that keeps his weight back on his heels instead of his toes. We got to keep people off their toes. The toes, when you go into the toes, you put brakes on the golf swing. And we don't want brakes, we want accelerators. And the ankles and the heels are the accelerators. So toes up, that's one of the best things to keep the balance and keep you moving through to the target. Keep the toes up in your swing, because we don't want those brakes going on and losing distance.
So explain that to me. Are you literally meaning toes up? Am I pointing my toes towards the sky? What do you mean by that?
You are actually flexing your toes in the shoes, into the shoes, but you're not lifting the shoes up, the toes up. Okay. You're just flexing the toes up into the shoes to where you actually can see your toes kind of touch the top of your shoes, but you don't want the whole toe base to raise up.
Okay. For weekend warriors out there that may not have a ton of time, Nancy, to go practice during the week, if we came to you and said, Nancy, I've only got 30 minutes a couple of times a week to devote to practicing before I play on the weekend, what would you tell us to devote that time to?
I would tell you to split it up. I want you to do whatever, let's say it's 10 minutes putting, 10 minutes pitching, 10 minutes irons, 10 minutes driver. So I want you to hit each part of the game, but I want you to do it into 4 groups. So if you got an hour, it's 15, 15, 15, 15. Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I want you to always spend time on the putting green, around the green, irons and driver. And so even if it's just 30 minutes because everybody's just going to go out there and hit their driver, that's all they're going to do. Just go out there and hit the driver. We see that on the range right now. They're all on the range. There's nobody up on the putting green. There's one person on the putting green and there's 10 people on the range. It needs to flip. That needs to flip. And you need to go ahead and give yourself that practice of all 4 skills. You need to get that practice. And that's what I would tell them to do.
Just a couple more before I let you go. And I want to get your thoughts on shaft lean as you work your way through our bag, starting with our wedges and work our way back through the bag, back to the driver. How much shaft lean should I have? You were talking about that earlier, maybe someone having an exaggerated shaft lean. What should it look like?
I think shaft lean is part of your impact, and it's part of your weight movement and transfer. I don't think that it's physically part of what you have to do with your hands in the shaft. This person actually started with shaft lean, but ended with none. Okay, so ended with flipping the club at the end. So the key is we've got to teach how to either not have shaft lean in your finesse wedges when you're just trying to get a soft wedge up onto the green. You don't want a lot of shaft lean there. You want your irons to have shaft lean, but you also want to get the ball airborne. So you have to make sure that if you are having a move to your target side, that you're actually moving into your, excuse me, I'm going to say your left, I'm a right-handed golfer, to your impact side, to your outside heel, okay? And we got to get you off your trail foot. So if we can teach the trail side what to do, how the ankles need to move, how they need to move through, the hands will come through, the shaft lean will come through on its own. Usually we see somewhere between 4 to 7 degrees of shaft lean with an iron. You don't know that. The only thing that you can tell if you don't have a launch monitor is, do you take a divot or do you not take a divot? And of course, we don't want to take a divot with the driver most of the time. We don't want that to happen. So you're going to have a different angle of attack, you're going to have a different, you're going to loft the club 7 to 8 degrees with a driver where you're trying to de-loft it with an iron. So, and that's all because of setup and how we move into the golf ball. So it's not something you do with everything. You have to have different releases with every club, with every part of the club. You know, the driver's going to hit up for the most of us, and the iron's going to hit down for the most of us. But I am a down angle attack with an iron, but I don't take a divot. And that's okay. That's okay. Some of us take divots and some of us don't. And that's really based on how steep we come into it as well. And I've never been a real steep angle attack into the shot to hit that ball. I still am going to hit it up in the air. I'm still going to try to get my height that I want and my carry distance that I want. And that's what's more important, is getting my carry distance to be what it needs to be. And I'm not really concerned about shaft lean, except for the fact of I don't want somebody to have, add shaft lean or add loft on a club. And then they go, why am I not getting any distance? Well, then we got to teach either how the hands move through or how the body moves through.
Nancy, one more before I let you go. And I saw your post about your great niece who is serving our country in the National Guard. Give her a shout out.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Catherine Quarcelino. She's my brother's granddaughter, my great niece, and she is a lieutenant in the National Guard in the Army. She's in the engineering side, and she's going to be captain here pretty soon. And that's pretty cool. And she got invited to the State of the Union. And so
Wow.
last week, she was there representing the Indiana National Guard. And so I'm so proud of her, and I'm texting her the whole time. Where are you sitting? I want to see, I want to know. And I got a bunch of pictures of her. I couldn't post a lot because she's still on deployment. So nonetheless, we were able to be really proud of her. And my brother, Lee, that's his granddaughter. He was in the Navy. So,
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm really proud of her and proud of what she's done and serving our country. And I just pray for everybody that's serving our country right now. But thank you. Yeah.
Yes. God bless her.
Yes.
Nancy, before I let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you're out there doing, whether it's on your website, on your fantastic YouTube channel where there's a bunch of playing lessons, and on social media as well?
Yes, you can find me at sometimes just Nancy Q. Okay, but my website is qsog.com. And then my social media is usually either Q School, which that's what it was from a long time ago, or Nancy Q at whatever at Facebook. But if you put the Q on there and you put Nancy in there, you're going to find me pretty much anywhere, because that last name is a little tough to spell.
Nancy, you're fantastic, my friend. I can't thank you enough for coming back and being a part of this show. You always make this segment so much fun and so informative. I hope we get this privilege with you again soon.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me, and good luck with your recovery.
Thank you. You too. Take care, Nancy. We'll talk soon.
Sounds great.
See ya. That is the great Nancy Quarcelino, folks. Again, at Nancy Q. We're going to find her. QSOG.com is the website. But how great is she? I mean, as she was talking about, getting playing lessons and things of that nature, I'm thinking, if you're anywhere within shouting distance of Nashville, why wouldn't you be knocking on Nancy's door to get some time with her? I mean, she's just the best there is. I mean, there's no, it's not an accident, right? When you win all of the different awards that ultimately culminate in getting into the LPGA Teaching and Club Professional Hall of Fame. There's a reason why she's there, and that's because she's just awesome at what she does. And then very patient, very kind, so much fun to be around, so informative. I mean, if you're not in the Nashville area and you're needing lessons and you're not calling Nancy Quarcelino, I gotta wonder about you. She's just one of the great people in our game, and like I say, one of the greats of all time. So go out there, check her out, follow her, get on that YouTube channel. Lots of great videos for you. And hopefully we get the opportunity to get Nancy back on the show again before too long. Okay, coming up next, we get our monthly visit from the confidence doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. But before we do, you guys know what a fan I am of On Point Golf. Folks, get the #1 ball marker in the game of golf. On Point is the only three-dimensional ball marker with alignment technology and a removable coin. It is approved for use according to the rules of golf as defined by the USGA and the R&A. As we all know, putting is all about line and pace. Mark your ball with On Point, engage with your three-dimensional ball marker, and have more confidence in your line, execute the putt, and lower your scores. Folks, with the likes of Jim Furyk, PGA professionals and amateurs alike out there using them now, it's the #1 ball marker in golf that actually helps you lower your scores. Go online to onpointgolf.us, read about the science behind it, then put one in your bag and make more putts. I feel like it's the 15th club in my bag. It's helped my game. Why wouldn't you let On Point help yours as well? Again, onpointgolf.us. Check them out and get one in your bag today.
Sure, this is golf, but so is this. And this. And this is definitely golf. And so is this. Hey, that's not golf. Oh, wait, yeah, it is. And no matter what your golf is, you're gonna need a store. No, a superstore. A place to get fit for a new club and walk out with it the same day. A place to find the perfect fit. A place to do whatever this is. Because this is golf. And this is golf's superstore.
Now let's get back to the show. Now back with his regular monthly visit with us is the confidence doctor, Dr. Bob Winters. As you guys know, Doc is the coach that helps us with our mental approach. He joins me every month to help us think differently, develop confidence, play smarter. You can find him down in Orlando at his performance enhancement company or at the Ledbetter Golf Academy at the Reunion Resort. The work that Dr. Bob does with players ranging from junior golfers all the way up to tour players is simply amazing. His players just keep on winning. The list of his players doing amazing things grows each and every month. Dr. Bob is also a board member of the Next Tour, which you guys know is a feeder tour for the Epson and LPGA Tours, and I'm excited he is back with me again this month here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Dr. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Wonderful to be with you. And I was just listening a little bit to Nancy Q, and wow, what a spitfire she is. And I think I've met her several times, my travels across the globe, and she is wonderful. So I'm just really privileged to be on the show following her.
So, Doc, this month we were talking prior to the show. We wanted to get into the self-talk that we do on the course or out on the range. If it's going badly for us, we tend to get really down on ourselves. Talk about the power that the negative words that we say about ourselves, what impact that has on us.
It's a funny thing that we have to kind of discuss this, Chris, because one of the things we know, implicitly, we know that a negative thought never really produces anything positive. And it seems that as human beings, we have a built-in negative bias. We are almost programmed, to think negative, to be skeptical. But it's all part, of human evolution to protect us a little bit. And we find ourselves Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on the golf course. We've got some great people, who then go on the golf course and then they just, go to holy hell on themselves. They beat themselves up. They tell themselves they're pathetic. And then you ask them, are you having a good time? They go, well, yes, I'm having a great time. I'm here on the golf course, aren't I? But you wouldn't know that from their self-talk because they really tend to berate themselves. So one of the things, I would really like to talk tonight is really how we can actually sort of modify our thoughts, our emotions, our self-talk to help sort of channel us into a whole new direction for performance for this new 2026 spring season. And I was really just watching the Winter Olympics. Obviously, I've done a lot of work with a lot of Olympic athletes. But there was one, young lady, Eileen Gu, who's a great freestyle skier, who was asked a question. They said, you are so articulate. You give such well-rehearsed answers, or they seem rehearsed. Do you have to think about, what you're going to say? And she started laughing. And obviously she is, a Stanford, product, very smart young woman and a one heck of a freestyle, and she's won gold medals in skiing for many years now. And she said, I am using, neuroplasticity to help me channel my brain, to really redirect my brain so I can kind of control my thoughts, my actions, my body. And neuroplasticity, for those of us who think that's a really fancy word in neuroscience, it's the ability of the brain to sort of rewire the patterns. Many of us get, what we call stuck into stinking thinking. We play the same tapes over and over. We play these negative loop tapes, but we have a chance to have what we call the plasticity of the brain. The brain, what we used to think maybe 30, 40 years ago was fixed. After a certain time, you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks. But that's not true. The brain is very plastic, very pliable, and we can do structural plasticity and functional plasticity. Structural means, the neurons in our brain, we actually change the structure. We're really changing the firing, the wiring of all these, synaptic neurons, these connections, all these billions and billions of cells. So she was talking about this, and she said, this is the coolest thing for my performance because I journal, I do a lot of self-talk, a lot of self-thought, I do a lot of self-reflection, and I'm actually sort of directing my mind to say, this is really what I want to do. And I thought, we have known this for a long time. This isn't anything new. In fact, something that I learned many years ago came from the great radio talk show host, Earl Nightingale. And he gave one, of what we call the greatest radio shows called The Strangest Secret Ever Told. And he was talking about, one of the biggest things about being a human species, Homo sapiens, is that we can actually change our future just with our thoughts. Because we are the product of our thoughts, we are the product of our self-talk. So when I hear players go out on the golf course and they use what we call a lot of modal verbs, and these are the verbs of necessity, obligation, choice, and maybe even opinion. The modal verbs are like, I must, I have to, I should. And there's others, I can, I could, I would. But when we have a player that says, I must do this, or I must make this putt, just their self-talk creates a lot of negative energy, creates a lot of self-imposed pressure. It creates doubt. And so I'm trying to help every one of my players understand the value of neuroplasticity. Use your mind for you. You can direct your thoughts in your brain. And how we do that, Chris, is that I have a lot of my players just sit down after a round, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and sit down and do something we call journaling. Just start, writing down your feelings. And it isn't something that you actually put on a computer. What we find is that if you can write it down in longhand, it tends to stick in the brain a little bit, longer. And I think when players do this, they can go, wow, what was I feeling? What was really going on? And so now you actually are being sort of you're critiquing your own thought process. And this is what Eileen Gu does. She really sort of creates a roadmap for herself, for her performance and her life. So now she says, this is, who is in control. Because when most of us get on the golf course, we repeat the same negative patterns over and over. I have to make this putt. I should be, lower. I should be playing better than I am now. Especially when you start putting the expectations, of golf, the expectations of score, the expectations of being perfect. So when a player says, I should be better than what I am right now, and I have to make a perfect swing, or I have to have a perfect warm-up in order to play well today. I mean, these I must, I have to. These are sort of statements of absolutes, and they don't really give a player the chance to be a human being. So that's really what we're talking about here with this self-talk, Chris.
So, Doc, let's take that a step further, because to your point, I mean, there are a lot of times, even for weekend warriors like me and mid to high handicappers, we have an expectation of a score that we think we should shoot, or we've got one that we're trying, a milestone score we're trying to break for the first time, whatever it is. And when we start to look at our scorecard as we're winding down the round, I've got to par these last 3 holes. I need to make a birdie here. Those kinds of things are, to your point, I mean, we start to press. So are there things that we should be saying to ourselves instead so that we can loosen up and play our best over whatever the number of holes we have left is?
Well, this is sort of like a hula hoop. Where do you want to start to actually swivel? And it's sort of like the chicken or the egg. Where do we actually start? I think the first thing we have to really understand is what's the whole purpose of the game of golf, Chris? It's really to move my ball from point A, where I start, to point B, to point C, and getting it in the hole as efficiently, as effectively, and economically as possible. End of story. And so many people put high value on how it looks or what other people think about, my game. And we need to dismiss all of that sort of stuff. And we need to get back down to the one thing. Where, is the ball supposed to go? It's supposed to go down the fairway into the hole. I mean, it's very simple to talk about that. But when we start placing expectations, even before we put our peg into the ground on the first tee, and we start saying things, I expect to shoot this score today. And really, we've known about this now for 35, 40 years because I've been talking about it that long, about how your handicap, how your index, how it all keeps you in sort of that scoring comfort zone. Because that's why many people, have not broken 90 or haven't broken 80, because they're out there not playing the game of golf in the moment, playing one shot at a time. They're looking at the scorecard. They have a condition called scoropia. And so they think, oh, wow, let's see, if I can make a couple of pars, a couple of bogeys, I'll shoot my personal best. Versus, why don't we just put down those expectations and just start playing in the moment? So instead of saying, I must, make a par here, why don't we say, I'm going to make a choice right now, and I'm going to have an expectation that says this. I expect to step into this shot, with a very clear plan. I expect to commit to my process and my routine 100%. And I expect to actually trust that everything's going to work out. And when the result is done, I expect myself that I'm going to accept this result and put it behind me. Almost like the Disney movie, The Lion King, Hakuna Matata, put it behind me and move forward. No thinking about the history, no thinking about the past, because so many of us get lost in trying to get strokes that are gone. We try to get them back, and we never get anything back. All that we have control of is the present moment. That's why it's called the present. It's the gift of the now that we need to be giving ourselves. So that's what we should be saying to ourselves instead of saying, oh my gosh, I've got, 3 or 4 holes. I have to get this in. Let go of your ego, because your ego is not your amigo, okay? It is not. Let go of your ego, and let's get into playing the game. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that listen to me and go, yeah, this is a bunch of this psychobabble stuff that I've heard for a long, long time. But the truth, be told, is that these are the same people who are like a cat that's going around and around chasing their tail. And I was just watching, a good friend, on a podcast, and they had been really working on their game for the last 25 to 30 years. And they said they were still working on the same stuff they were doing 30 years ago, and they weren't getting any better. So what I'm saying now for everyone is, when you even go out and caddy for someone, or you're trying to help someone, think about what you say to them. You're probably a very good supporter, a very good caddy. You're very optimistic. You give them very good, what I call just positive motivation terms. Hang in there, stay patient, focus on this shot. And then I always look at them and I go, wow, you gave them some really good advice. Do you talk to yourself like that? And they'll say, oh, hell no, no way. It doesn't work for me. You see, they're so quick to actually dismiss, anything that might, even be the possibility of working for them. So that's why we have developed a lot of bad habits with a lot of stinking thinking, a lot of these sort of what we call these modal verbs of necessity, absolution, and oh, I should be better than this. I should be perfect. Well, who says that? Who says that you should be perfect or that you have to be perfect? Why don't you just go out and just see how great you can possibly be today? I mean, and that's the whole notion about playing great golf, because if you're going in the direction, of your dreams and your aspirations and you want to get better and everything you're doing and every day is trying to move you in that direction, that's probably going to take you right where you want to go.
Yes, it is. Doc, before I let you go, remind our listeners again, how can they get more of your sage advice and follow you, whether it's on your website or it's on social media?
Well, they can find me at theconfidencedoctor.com. That's my website. They can go into golfzoneledbetter.com. They can catch me there. They can catch me on Instagram and Facebook at Dr. Robert Winters or Dr. Bob Winters. And the one thing I did really want to say here, Chris, before we go, I'm really excited about this week. This is Arnold's week, big week here at Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing this Golf Business Technology Coaches Conference at the Reunion Resort. I'm going to be up there with my good friend and colleague, Dr. Rick Sessinghaus and Tim Hall. And we're going to be talking about this stuff. We're going to be talking about how the mind impacts golf performance here in the 21st century.
That's awesome. Doc, you're the best, my friend. Every single month that you come on the show, I learn something new. I add something to my notebook. It makes me a better thinker out on the golf course, and I can't thank you enough for that and for all the things that you have meant to me and my listeners. You're just the best, my friend.
Thanks, Chris. You have your great evening. And remember, your brain's plastic. You don't have to have a fixed brain. You could actually just keep expanding it, and you're actually expanding all of our minds with this great program. Thanks for always having me, Chris.
Absolutely. Take care, Doc. We'll talk to you again next month.
Okay, thank you.
That's the great Dr. Bob Winters, folks. And, every single month, as you guys know, I try to take down some notes with what Dr. Bob is sharing, and I put it in my little notebook that I keep in my golf bag, right? So what did we get out of tonight? Well, there's several things that I wrote down from tonight. And like you just said there at the end, stop stinking thinking. Expect and accept the outcome. Whatever the outcome is, let's accept that and let's move on to the next shot. Ego's not your amigo. Be your own kind caddy, right? I mean, that's one of the stories he was relaying, right? If you can be a really good caddy to a friend of yours or someone you're playing with and be encouraging to them, why can't you be encouraging to yourself, right? Let's have the right words. Let's have the right attitude. And one of the things, like we talk about, accept what the shot is. If you hit a bad one, you've hit a wayward one. All right. You accept that. You put that in the rear view. You go out and you challenge yourself to play the next shot and to play it well and go from there. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think when we talk about this a lot on the show about the negative self-talk that we do and how we talk ourselves into bad shots. We see all the trouble. Oh, no, this is that one hole that always gets me. Oh, look, there's water on the left. Oh, there's trees on the right. Those things we shouldn't be focusing on. Talk about where you want to hit the ball. I want to hit the ball right down the middle. Oh, I'm going to aim right there off that bunker, and I'm going to cut it a little off that. It's going to be right there in the middle of the fairway. Think yourself to a better golf game, not a worse golf game. Can't thank Doc enough. Again, theconfidencedoctor.com is where you can find him online. At Dr. Robert Winters or at Dr. Bob Winters is where you're going to find him out on social media. Coming up next is the North American sales manager for Miura Golf. You guys know the quality products that Miura makes. Unbelievably handcrafted, quality check down to each and every head. You know how Darren Pang, when Panger's a part of the show, how he sings the praises of Miura and their equipment. Before I bring Blake into the show, are you familiar with one of the most eye-grabbing and innovative and fun brands of golf apparel out there, Sunday Swagger? While I tell you about them, go look them up online, sundayswagger.com. Are you tired of boring golf clothes? Well, Sunday Swagger is changing the game with premium performance apparel that delivers the look and feel of $100 polos for much, much less. while never sacrificing style for comfort. Their bold polos, shorts, and outerwear feature four-way stretch and moisture-wicking fabric that moves with you, whether you're crushing drives or crushing happy hour. With over 300 unique designs and vibrant colors ranging from bestsellers like Jawbreaker to exclusive collaborations with people like Guinness, Sunday Swagger offers something for everybody. And their matching prints for couples and families with children are flying off the shelves. You might even recognize some Sunday Swagger designs in popular Hollywood movies and TV shows, including Happy Gilmore 2. Sunday Swagger is guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversations. Visit SundaySwagger.com and join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits. Sunday Swagger. It's your swagger. Embrace it. Own it. And folks, Squares Golf, best golf shoes on the planet by far. It's not a gimmick. It's not marketing. It's science. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from six-time major champion Sir Nick Faldo.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own, the perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Now back to the show. Okay, now making his next On the Tee debut with me is Blake Smith. Blake is the North American sales manager for Miura Golf. Prior to his current role, Blake spent 3 years as the lead master fitter for True Spec Golf. Going back to 2020, he spent some time working at Club Champion. He also spent a couple of years as the director of instruction at Scottsdale National Golf Club from 2018 to 2020. And before that, a few years at Boccieri Golf in Scottsdale as their director of instruction as well. In college, he earned his agribusiness and professional golf management degree at Arizona State. And I'm excited that I get to spend some time with him this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Blake, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me on, man.
So, Blake, a ton of great talent has come out of Arizona State. So much great golf talent, both players and from the golf management program there. Tom Pertzer, Billy Mayfair, two wonderful friends of this show. Talk about your experience at ASU.
So I went to the agribusiness school. So when everybody thinks about Arizona State, they think of parties and you know, all the really fun stuff. Now, I took a couple of classes there, but mainly I was at the agribusiness school. So it's on the East Campus in Mesa. So basically my whole thought process was attain my degree and become a PGA professional. I was really focused on that. It's probably good that I wasn't on the main campus for all the distractions that can happen out there. But you know, I had my fair share of those as well. But overall, it was a great experience. I'll always be a double. Still live in Arizona, obviously. So, and I'm originally from Colorado, but you know, I don't want to go back.
So, how did you go from the agribusiness and golf management program there at ASU to being a director of instruction?
So it's kind of an interesting path here. So, I was working at Whisper Rock, from in 2005, and, Hot Sticks had a venture capitalist company take over. And I found out about that, and I wanted to get into doing some club repair stuff and learning a little bit on that. So I went down to the range and talked to a guy named Tom that was one of the owners, and basically asked him for a job, and he gave me an internship at Hot Sticks. Now, I learned how to build and fit, and one of my colleagues at Hot Sticks Golf told me that there's an assistant pro job open at Paradise Valley Country Club, but it's also going to basically, you make the whole fitting program. So I was like, well, that's right up my alley. And my friend that told me, he's like, I don't have any interest in being in a green grass facility. So I was like, okay, well, this is basically why I became a PGA professional. I want to go work at a green grass facility, and especially at a place like Paradise Valley Country Club. It's, one of the most prestigious golf clubs or country clubs in the western part of the United States. So interviewed for that and got that and worked that job for about 2 years, and I got promoted to director of instruction.
So you talked about getting fit there a moment ago, and you spent some time as a master fitter, oh, by the way. And we talk an awful lot about getting properly fit for your clubs, Blake, on this show. Talk about the difference it can make in all of our games, because fitting isn't just for the tour pros, it's for all of us. Talk about getting fit versus going in and buying clubs off the rack.
Yeah, so getting fit is a totally different experience. I would talk to everybody about getting fit. I tell them, have you ever flown private? If they have flown private, I'm like, well, you don't really want to go back, do you? And they go, yeah, I don't want to. So it's like flying private. It's not quite that experience, but it's as high a level of experience as you can have, right? So many times I'm spending 3.5, sometimes 3.5 hours with a player, getting them dialed in. If they're doing the whole bag, that's what I would do. I would basically just start off. We started off with irons at True Spec. Most of the places that I did this with, it started off with irons. I have them hit their gamer, and then based on the results that I see with the either TrackMan or Foresight data, I've used both of them. I would basically, in my mind, pick out a category that the player fits into, and then 3 to 5 heads to test based on how many shots I think they can handle. Right. So like, somebody comes to me and I'm pretty sure that they're going to wear out in an hour and a half, then I'm going to expedite it just a little bit because I want to get the right data. So I would get that data, do a comparison. And then basically that's the process, right? I grab a shaft. Usually I would nail the shaft right off the bat, but then I'd check a couple of shafts if I had some time, unless somebody was really interested in the shaft. Basically, shafts are there to get you to deliver the golf club and find the sweet spot as easily as possible. So you just go through the bag in that process, and that's basically it. It's such a better way of doing it than just going and rolling the dice and walking up to some golf clubs and saying, these look pretty, I'm going to play these. So you don't ever want to fit the club to you, right? You want to fit, or you don't ever want to fit yourself to the club. You want to fit the club to you. That's what I would always say that to pretty much everybody. So you're rolling the dice. I mean, a broken clock's right twice a day. So, you might get lucky that you grab a driver off the rack and it's like, this thing's amazing. And then you take it to a fitter maybe down the road and they're like, oh, I can't beat it. I've had that happen. And it's real rare.
So when you were fitting people, how often did they show up having a preconceived notion for what they wanted, but what they walked away with at the end of the fitting session was something completely different?
I would say probably at least 60 to 70% of the people would walk away with something different than they came in for. That's that was I would fit people into stuff that they hadn't even really thought about. So I mean, that's one of the reasons that like I hold Miura in such a high regard, is because not everybody knows about it. Most people do now. I mean, we're getting out there a lot more than we've been before, but Miura is a perfect example of that, right? People will come in and they're like, okay, well, I want to play the hit. I want to try the TaylorMade. I want to try Ping. I want to try Callaway, and I like Mizuno. So I watch them hit, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to throw a wild card in there, and then I'd talk about the history on Miura and that kind of stuff, and that kind of stuff would work. And it's not only Miura. There were other brands that I would do that with because it was an agnostic place. So, but yeah, that's yeah, probably 60 to 70% of the people would walk away with something other than what they thought they would walk out with.
So you've been with Miura now for a couple of years. What attracted you to the brand to begin with?
So I had my first experience hitting a Miura at Hot Sticks in 2006, like right after I had started. And I had been playing golf since my dad had me on the golf course when I was 3. I don't know to what capacity, but I was trying to hit it out there. But I've been playing competitively since I was about 9 years old. So, my ball striking's pretty good, and I had felt like Mizuno was probably the best I could ever feel, right? I loved Mizuno. I had owned 3 sets of Mizuno before I started working there. And then I hit Miura, and it was a totally different experience. Now I know the ins and outs of it, but mainly, it is literally it's like a punch, not a slap. As far as when you hit the ball, but it's not like a hard punch. Like it's a solid, soft feel, which is pretty tough to describe. But yeah, that was my first experience with Miura, and that's kind of how I started to really understand how good Miura was. I actually didn't get some Miuras then. For some reason, I don't even remember why I didn't get them. And I regretted that until I started working for Miura. I immediately got Miuras. Actually, I played Miura before I started working for Miura. When I was at True Spec, I played Miura for 3 years, almost 3 years. So, but yeah, that's how that started.
The brand has a reputation for being meticulously handcrafted. I think that goes all the way back to the early days and the founder, Katsuhiro Miura. He's been referred to as having the hands of God, and we unfortunately lost him last May. But talk about the quality that goes into each and every head that you guys produce.
Yeah, so yeah, hands of God. That is, we actually have a picture of his hands in our office. It's pretty cool. I get to see that every day. And yeah, we lost him last May, unfortunately. But yeah, so the quality of Miura, basically the whole process of Miura is nobody really does anything like that. Mainly, the factory is in Himeji, Japan, which is south of Tokyo, a good ways. It's a really small town. The reason that the factory is in that area is because the metal is so good. So Japanese sword steel, because everybody knows about like Japanese swords and how good a quality they are, and it's the best forging out there. Ipso facto comes from the same area. So best steel that you can get, Japanese steel, and out of that area, it's so good. Katsuhiro Miura decided a while ago when he was working for other manufacturers that he could do a better forging. So what we do is we have a three press forging process. So basically what happens is we make dies and we stamp we strike the metal with the press. It creates that iron out of the mold, and we do it 3 times as opposed to 2. So an analogy that I like to use when I talk about this, and it comes from Bill Holowati, who's been working for Miura for a long, long time. Used to live with the family. Basically, it is you take a glass jar. So you got to imagine a glass jar, and that glass jar is before anything. It's just raw metal. And then if you fill it with marbles, now you have filled that jar essentially, but there are pockets of air and there are inconsistencies in there. What Miura does with the third strike, it's like pouring sand in that jar and filling in all of the crevices, all the holes. So mainly with that process, the the metal aligns and it becomes a lot more pure, and there are a lot less imperfections and air pockets or anything like that. So across the face, you have a solidness of contact, and our irons are, as far as like weight goes and how they come out of the factory, they are within 0.5 grams of where they need to be each iron. So the quality is second to none.
So let's take that a step further, Blake. For people that aren't as familiar with the brand or may just be learning about it for the first time, we talk about the quality that goes in each and every head, but what are the other things that truly sets Miura apart from the other manufacturers?
Well, so I mean, the cool thing about what we have is we have a bit of a mystique. When people know about Miura, they know. Handcrafted, as I said, so there is a possibility that the DNA of one of the brothers that run the company is on there. Probably Yoshitaka. If you get some older Miuras, like if you get the KM700, which is Katsuhiro Miura's last design, there's a possibility you have some of his DNA on there. So they hand forge it. It is actually hand done. The meticulousness is all there. What we're doing right now, we're doing some collabs with other companies, which has really been successful with us, namely like Dormy head covers. We have melon hats that everybody really likes. So our apparel is about as good as it gets. There are people that own Miura apparel that don't even play golf because they just think it's cool. And then also we're starting to introduce different finishes. We've always done a QPQ, which is the black finish. The way that we set apart on that one is it's not just a coating. The black is actually injected into a raw head, and when it wears to a patina, and it doesn't wear to just straight up silver, right? So chrome. So overall, we have more moving parts than we've ever had before, and we definitely have that mystique that if you know, you know. Especially since we just went through late last year, we released baby blades, and those sold out really, really fast. It's the smallest head pretty much out there, and everybody wanted them.
So let's talk about some of the specific irons that you guys have. You mentioned the QPQ because you've got a relatively new set of irons, the TC202s, and that black finish, which looks amazing, by the way. Talk about who are the TC202s meant for?
Yeah, so the 200 series is it's like our flagship area. So a lot of times when people think about Miura, they think better players, right? And they're not wrong. So, to feel the difference, to really understand that how to shape a shot, how to hit shots, all the stuff that goes into being a good ball striker. The next level is Miura from pretty much everybody else. So the 202 is meant for the lower single digit handicaps, although we have made it just a little bit bigger than our previous 201. It actually gets a little bit closer to the 302, but it's not. 302 is a little bit more of a game improvement. I don't like to say game improvement with Miura because we're really not a game improvement company, but it's a little bit bigger footprint. So you could go all the way down to tour players. I mean, Justin Rose uses the 202 in his long irons, and then you can go all the way up into a 13, 14 handicap that hits their irons well and wants the best quality that they can get. And I agree with you that 202 black is unbelievable, and it's really, really nice when you see it in person.
So you've got a lot of different iron models. Talk me through the iron models and who they're meant for. So for the average player that's out there that may be a mid to high handicap, is there a set of irons that we can get from Miura that will help our game?
Yeah, so mid to high handicap. So we have a couple of offerings that are a little bit closer to game improvement, although they still have the Miura quality, the Miura feel, all the feedback that you'd ever want. We have the IC 602. That's been out for a little while. That also comes in black. That one is a hollow body. There's polymer behind the face, so there are different manufacturers out there that do the same kind of thing. We did it the Miura way. Obviously, they're as beautiful as they can be. I actually use this in my 3-iron. I'm scratch handicaps, so these work well for even scratch handicap players, but that can go all the way into a 22 handicap. That's the design of it. There's a good amount of tech in there. Now, we also have just launched the PI 402. So player improvement is basically what PI is, but it's really a player's distance iron. So again, this one can be played throughout all handicaps as well if it goes into long irons, all the way up into. I mean, you could probably have a beginner in these as well because they're really, really easy to hit. The construction behind it, it has the biggest sweet spot that we have to offer. Overall, the thought process that Miura has is we like to create distance and forgiveness through geometry, not necessarily just straight up tech. There are companies that do that absolutely incredibly, and we stay in our lane a little bit. Although these two offerings are where mid to high handicappers can live.
So take that a step further for me, Blake. You like to do it through geometry. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the design of the club. So basically, what you can see if you look at the 202, you see a T-bar on the back. This is a good example. The T-bar moves the center of gravity up and down. So long irons, the center of gravity is low, and mid irons, the center of gravity is more in the middle, and then the short irons, it's higher. So it progressively changes, so the ball flight can stay consistent. Now, that's easier to do with tungsten in like a hollow body iron. It's easier to do in something like that. When it comes to creating a die, understanding how where the weight is when it's on a finished product, it really doesn't happen very often when it comes to forged iron. So that's a perfect example. And then also the baby blade that had just come out and we sold out of, that is our smallest offering, but it has the same weight as the 101. So it's 15% smaller, and it's the same weight as our MB 101. Actually, Katsuhiro Miura created the baby blade for himself, and he said they're the most forgiving golf club in the world. But they're incredibly forgiving for what they are. But yeah, geometry is definitely something that has been a very big focus on how the design is done.
Blake, let's talk a little bit about your wedge line as well. And you've got a few different grinds. The K grind 2.0 is very intriguing to me with the notches there on the sole of the club. Talk about the conditions and players that your wedges are meant for.
Yeah, so you just mentioned the K grind. The K grind, I like to call it cheat code out of the bunker. You open that thing up and you expose those knuckles to the bunker. And then basically all you do is just swing down and hit the sand hard, and the ball pops out and you're good to go. They are incredible out of bunkers and incredible out of longer rough. around the green. I really haven't put them in any situation where it doesn't work. I mean, because it can get hard pan out here in Arizona, and I've opened it up and it still slides through easily. So that design is really, really cool. We have the Y grind. So basically our two grinds in our forged wedge series, the Y and the C, you have a front edge, like a pre-worn leading edge grind on the Y grind, and then nothing on the back, so it's a little bit more effective bounce. And then the C grind is a trail grind. So I think a lot of people out there know a C grind. It kind of looks like a C when you hold it up because all the trail bounces off of there, but it maintains bounce in the middle of the club. So it's not a really low bounce club. We like to say that, bounce is, generally speaking, people's friend, so we don't want to take it away completely.
Blake, this has been so great. It's been so great having you on the show, and it's so great to get further definition and ideas about everything that goes into your Miura irons and your wedges and the quality that's behind them. Is there anything else that you need to tell us that we should really know, that I should have asked perhaps along the way, that you want people to know so when they're going out there to get their next set of irons, Miura is at the top of their mind?
I would say mainly, ask a lot of questions, do a lot of research, and find out what this is a big one. If you're really interested in what pros play, find out what pro is not sponsored, and then find out what they're playing, and you'll that's where you're going to find Miura. That is something that we hang our hat on. We don't pay anybody to play Miura. If they're playing Miura, they want to. And we have plenty of guys out there, just like I said, Justin Rose plays them. Adam Scott plays them off and on. He plays different turf conditions. So like whatever turf condition he's on, that's what he'll pick. He actually designed his own AS1 iron. There's a really cool video on our website about that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of the coolest videos. So, but yeah, overall, I would say, if you look at the pros that don't get paid to play, and they're playing Miura, that should tell you something.
Darren Pang is a wonderful friend of the show. He's a brand ambassador, and every time he comes on, he sings the praises of his Miura irons. He's a huge fan.
Yeah, we love Darren. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't met him personally, but yeah, I know that he's had many Miuras, and he likes the apparel and everything. I mean, that's one thing too. Like our apparel is definitely something that we hang our hat on. We are meticulous about making sure that we bring in the stuff that really is subdued but cool. And I mean, there are some collabs out there that will get a little bit more trendy, but mainly our core is subdued and cool.
Blake, before I let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you and the brand are out there doing, whether they're following you online or it's on social media?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram. We're on basically all the platforms. We do a lot of Instagram stuff. So if social media is what you're into, and you can follow us there. We share a lot of really cool stories and everything. You'll see videos of our forging process, so you'll be able to see behind the scenes and how the forging process is done, and it's really cool. We have a lot of video on that. You can log on to MiuraGolf.com. That has pretty much all the information you're going to need, and that's where you can either, like, you can buy anything that we carry on that. I would recommend getting fit, but you can buy a wedge and see how that works out. We like to call wedges a little bit of like a gateway drug. So you try out a Miura wedge, and you love it, and you're like, maybe the irons feel like this. So now once you hit the irons, you're hooked.
Well, Blake, it's been great having you as part of the show this week. I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and join me. I hope we get this privilege with you again not too far down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. Thanks for having me on, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Take care, Blake. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you. You as well.
Folks, that is Blake Smith again at Miura Golf. And if you don't know how to spell it, it's Miura. At Miura Golf is where you can find them on, like he was saying, on their Instagram page. Go out there and check them out online. They've got a lot of different irons. They got a lot of different wedges. Very intriguing looking. I tell you, I love that, that grind for the wedge. It is, as he was talking about, you got some kind of, he called them knuckles. Got some grinds in there. K grind, the 2.0. Boy, that seems like that would be a killer wedge to have, particularly like he was talking about. If you get in the bunker, that thing looks like it's going to get you right back out. So have a little confidence in your hands. That'll put the confidence in your mind, and then that shot's going to get pulled off. And look, some of these new wedges or these new iron sets, the PI 402s, I was looking at the 401s on their website, which look fantastic. If these are even more forgiving than the 401s were, boy, that's going to be a special set of irons. Now, look, as Blake was saying, he's a scratch golfer. You look at some of the things that they do, maybe a little more tailored to the high-end, low handicappers, but the fact that they've got some ones that are fit for us, right? So for the weekend warrior, the mid-handicapper, high-handicapper, some of those that can fit our games, and the quality that goes into this. I can't tell you enough how impressed I was to watch that video. You mentioned about Adam Scott and Adam Scott's trip over to check out the factory. You should go on their website and watch that video. It's very, very intriguing. And it's wonderful to see that Adam going in there and actually watching how they do. And he talked about how these things are all handcrafted. That's not a joke. That's not like, well, they do 1 out of every 5 or 1 out of every 10. No, they do 1 out of every 1. So looking at how they put together and the quality that goes into the manufacturing and creation of these irons, and watching Adam kind of go through the whole process is interesting. You can kind of take the ride with him. And that kind of shows you why, as Blake pointed out, if you're watching some guys out there that they don't have a big time manufacturer, a company, a sponsor on their bag, and they're not sponsored and getting paid by those guys. I bet you if you looked in their bag, there's probably Miura's in there. So as you've heard Darren Pang sing their praises over and over when he comes on the show, you know how good it is. So go out there, check it out. Let me know what you think. Send me a note. Follow up with me when I get to this. This will come out probably a couple of days, probably actually about a week after Blake and I have talked. But go out there when I post it. Give me some comments on social media or on through my website, nextonthet.net. Just hit that contact us. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're playing them, let me know what you think about what you got. So I'm interested to hear from you about how great these irons are because they look fantastic to me. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out again to Nancy Quarcelino, Dr. Bob Winters, and Blake Smith for joining me this week. Scheduled to join me next time are our good friend John Cook will be back, and he's got some exciting new news about something he and some friends of his have been working on. I'm very excited about. Can't wait to hear all about that, plus to have Cookie back as part of the show. He is outstanding each and every time he has been a part of it. Plus, Garrett Perdue, founder and CEO of Arnie's Wellness, will make his next On the Tee debut with me. Some great products that are branded, obviously, with Mr. Palmer. So, Garrett, I got to meet him at the PGA Merchandise Show. Really enjoyed the few minutes that we got to spend there. Excited that he is going to share what they are working on when he joins the show next time around. So I hope you'll also come back next time around, press play, and be a part of that with us. I want to thank our friends again over at Trib Live for being such wonderful partners and for hosting this show on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by then clicking on the Sports Section tab, the most recent episode right there front and center for you on the homepage of the Sports Section, or you can go to podcast.triblive.com, and more of the most recent episodes are available for you there as well. But as you know, we're out there pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, golfnewsnet.com, so you'll find us pretty much anywhere you get your podcast content. But folks, as I say each and every week, the biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts, barring none. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.